Today is going to be hard, but good. Today was supposed to be a day where Michaela was going to come and share with us. She is one of the Woods pile, and she was going to share. She's been gone a couple, 10 months on a mission trip, and she was going to share with us just a little bit about what she'd seen, what she'd done, what she'd been a part of. And her flight was all kind of messed up, and she got home, I think, late last night sometime, and was not really able to be here. So as far as being real prepared, I'm not, but the best part about that is that's when God does His best work. That's when I just kind of let Him do what He does, and it's always good. But I do promise you that God has something special for each one of you this morning, and I will guarantee you that each of you will have been touched by the time you leave here this morning. Some of you were touched when you got here, but right? You guys didn't get that, did you? You will be touched before you leave here today. 3 weeks ago, I pointed out that we all have to fight. And if you've been here, you know that we've been talking about that, and in every fight there's an adversary, there's an opponent in the ring with us. Our opponent is Satan, which literally means adversary. He is our opponent, and he intends to hurt us. That's it. That's what he wants. He wants to hurt me. And he does. He wants to damage me. He wants to knock me down, and he's pretty good at that on occasion. And he wants me to stay down. That's what he wants. He wants to punish me, and he wants to knock me down, and he wants to keep me down. And hopefully out. And we've talked about Satan has several strategies in order to do that. He has some key tools, and we've talked about one of those key tools is whispering in our ear. We talked about in Revelations 12:10 that Satan is the accuser of the brethren. He's the one that's in my ear on occasion, accusing me of whatever he can come up with, whatever he knows that'll help or hurt, whatever he can do. He just loves to whisper in my ear, and probably yours as well, and remind me of our past mistakes. That's what he wants to do. He wants to remind me of, my past mistakes. He wants to remind me of my limitations. You're not good enough. That kind of stuff. He really enjoys to make sure that I dwell on who I am not, as opposed for me dwelling on who I am. That's what he wants. He wants to make sure that I dwell on who I am not, so that I can't think about who I am. That's what he wants to do. He mocks us. Remember, we talked about it. He comes in our ears and says, "You mean you sinned again?" He comes in and says, you might as well give up. Sin's going to win anyway. He's going to come in and he's going to say, "Kevin, you're a loser. Why don't you just give up? Why don't you just throw in the towel? You're a loser." He likes to tell me that I am unworthy. You ever say that you're unworthy? He likes to tell me that I'm a disgrace. That's what he wants to do. He wants to tell me that I am a joke. You're not any good. You're not any good as a daddy. You're not any good as a husband. You're not any good as a pastor. You're not any good. That's what he wants to tell me. And I just tell you, some Christians listen to that. And at times I do. And they hear Satan's mocking voice in the background, and they just give up. They let that adversary I let that opponent beat me at times. I just want to give up. And then we live in this kind of self-hatred of ourselves, right? We just live in that kind of a place where we just kind of hate ourselves. We live a life of despair. We live a life of defeat. You know, because we messed up again. We didn't do it exactly right this time. We've messed up. And I'll just tell you, you don't even have to mess up for God to accuse you. You don't have to have sin in your life for God to accuse you. There are times in your life where He's going to accuse you just on the good things. And He's going to make you feel terrible. He's going to find a small crack in that armor. Or what appears to be a crack, I guess. And He was going to do His best to exploit it. And we try so hard to be righteous. We try to live our lives with honor. But then we say something, we do something, we think something. I've talked about this. Maybe it's a little thing. Whatever it is, you know it may be wrong, or you know it's where you're weak. When you feel guilty, you feel shameful, you feel frustrated, you kind of hate yourself. And Satan's right there to make sure you don't forget it. Don't forget who you are. Or don't forget who I'm telling you are. Don't forget how bad you are. Don't forget how sorry you are. Don't forget how big a joke you are. That's what Satan's doing. And he's going to exploit that because he knows that's where I'm the weakest. Don't forget. Our perception of ourselves always isn't based on the sin that we've had. Sometimes our perception of ourselves is, well, our financial situation is horrible, and so therefore I'm a loser. Or my perception of myself is, my family life is in horrible situations, therefore I'm terrible. I'm a joke. You know, my outward appearance isn't what it ought to be, therefore I can't be worth anything. I read you this psalm. Remember, we was in Romans. And the words of this psalm was, sitting by the window on a rainy afternoon, everything inside my head was playing out of tune. I was thinking of the fool I'd made of me the night before, in front of God and everyone. I'd sinned and sinned some more. Well, I thought of all the things I'd done. I winced at things I'd said. I wallowed in self-pity. I hung my worried head. And right when I was so far down that even up looked wrong, that's when Jesus gave me the course to the song. He said, Satan the accuser has been whispering in your ear. You just tell him you're forgiven. He has no business here. Because it doesn't matter what you've done. It matters what you'll be. There is no condemnation when the Son has set you free. And I know and we, and probably every one of us here this morning have found ourselves looking in a mirror. And I passed a mirror around. And I hope all of you had a chance to have that. But there's been times in our life when we found ourselves looking in the mirror and we felt so ashamed. We felt so embarrassed about what we've seen. You look in there and you think, oh man, I'm so ashamed. I'm so embarrassed of what I see. Satan's telling you he's telling you to be ashamed. Satan's telling you to be embarrassed. You should be embarrassed. You should be ashamed. But the worst part about that stupid mirror sometimes is somehow it lets you see more than just what's on the outside. I don't know how it does it. But you look at that mirror and you find yourself looking at what's on the inside. You don't like that either. Become so disappointed. And I fail to remember that by God's grace I've been set free. And by the grace of God I'm not who Satan tells me that I am. And by the grace of God, I'm not who I think I am sometimes. By the grace of God, I'm not who I feel like I am sometimes. How do you see yourself? It doesn't make any difference who Satan says you are. It doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make any difference who you say you are. It doesn't make any difference how negative the perception that you have of yourself. It does not make any difference. It doesn't matter how you feel about yourself. All that matters is how God sees you. That's all that matters. And God sees you. He says, in Him, God sees us, sees me, sees you as a new creation. That's what He sees. When God sees me, He sees me as a chosen generation. When God looks at me, He sees me as a royal priesthood. That's what it says in 1 Peter. That's who God sees me. He sees me as a special people. He sees me as a holy nation. Doesn't matter what I see. Got a video. And it's pretty long. It's about 12 minutes, but by the time we're done, you're going to think it was 2 minutes long. It's a video about a girl by the name of Stacy and about a man by the name of Dennis. When I see this, and you'll have your different thoughts of what it's saying, but I see Stacy as God, and I see Dennis as me. And I want us to watch that right now.